Rogers TV.
Rogers TV Durham would like to acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation of the Mississauga Nation. May we respectfully honor the knowledge and understanding of the Indigenous stewards of these ancestral lands and ensure that the voices of the First Peoples are represented in our collections, programs, and services.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Politics. I'm Debra Hutchison. Our guest this week is Whitby Mayor Elizabeth Roy. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
Since you and I spoke the last time, a lot has been happening specifically on the Whitby Hospital front, so I'd like to focus on that. First off, I guess let's start at the very beginning. Feb 7th, you launched this campaign in support of a Whitby hospital. A very vocal public campaign. Why did you feel that was necessary?
So we were announced in 2022, January 2022, that the location by Lakeridge Health for the next hospital would be in the Whitby site. We've now had 3 provincial budgets pass by that we have no announcement for a planning grant to come forward. Back in 2023, we had a Whitby Community Strategic Plan completed in a 6 months time period. In June of 2023, we moved forward with the strategic plan, and the number one priority of residents is healthcare. Not just healthcare, it was about getting the land for the hospital and moving the hospital forward as well. Now, while the land is located within Whitby, this would be a Durham hospital. It would be an acute care center and one that we need to be moving forward on. When the planning grant is announced, what will end up happening following that is the ability for not only our municipality, but also for the Lakeridge Health, they'll have the opportunity to start planning for this hospital, which will take 10 years. We're going to have to do a community fundraising as well, and Whitby won't be the only one who will be paying for within the fundraising, but we have to raise approximately 10% of the capital amount of what it would cost to build the hospital. What that amount will be right now, the last hospital that was built during the pandemic was $1.7 billion. So we'll probably expect it.
Yeah. It's not like they announce it and in a year we've got a hospital. That's no. 10 years away.
10 years. Yeah, 10 years till the doors get open.
So this campaign, what kind of response did you get from the residents? You asked them to, share their stories of healthcare and issues.
Yeah, and we, right from the get-go, and it was Family Day weekend, we were down at Iroquois Park at our sports complex and greeting families as they were coming in. And the families, even there, started to share their stories. We have had over 4,000 residents share stories, send in their emails, and support this campaign for the need to have this hospital.
And as you said, it's not a hospital just for Whitby or for North Whitby. It's for all of Durham Region. What makes this site, in your mind, the best solution for a Durham-wide hospital?
So when you think about the response for healthcare, it's seconds that counts. And one, that this hospital will also be a trauma care facility. It will have a helicopter pad that will give the opportunity for that orange helicopter, which, by the way, in the last couple of weeks has landed in our community of Whitby 3 times to take where there has been incidents of residents and have been brought in either into Sunnybrook or to Kingston. But when seconds counts and its location is located on the 400 series access, so it's at the 412, it's at the 47, near Highway 7 in Lake Ridge. And so your access up the 412 from the 401, it will be there centrally for all of our communities.
Let's go back to the response from the residents and the stories that they've been sharing about their experience with Ontario's healthcare system. What are some of the stories that really stand out to you that illustrate a need, you know, for a hospital, and not maybe 10 years down the road, but
well, it's like for our seniors, for instance, and our seniors, and the stories like the husband who shared the story of his wife falling on the cement floor and fracturing her face, and the amount of time that she had to wait inside the facility, inside the hospital, to even be taken care of, or the fact that healthcare medicine in hallways is taking place right now, and you come into the emerge and you could be 3 days in a hallway prior to even being admitted into a room. And, you know, I know that our healthcare is strained, and I know that across the province, but also across our country, healthcare is strained. But we need to be having that commitment back into the healthcare to give the supports, in the training of nurses, the training of doctors. And we're seeing that locally with our post-secondary institutions. And we're also locally making that contribution to bringing physicians into our community as well. And we hope in June that with the new Whitby Medical Center that will be opening up, that there will be also that relationship that we have created for recruitment of physicians to come to the community as well too. So we're continuously looking at all aspects of it, and we just need, as we're growing as a community, infrastructure needs to be there. Healthcare is a big part of it, and that's the stories that we're hearing. We're hearing of the young families where they're taking their children to York or to Toronto to be taken care of. That's a long way to travel to have the healthcare needs for your children.
New York?
York.
Oh, York. I thought you said New York, and I'm like, well,
No,
you know what?
York.
I have heard of a lot of people that will go down to the States to get their tests faster.
Yeah. That is true. It's very true. And I do know of some people who get their MRIs down in the States as well, too.
You have a very unique perspective on the healthcare system. Of course, before you entered politics for years, you worked at a hospital.
I worked for 34 years. I started my career at Princess Margaret Hospital, worked there for 20 years, and finalized my career at Lake Ridge Health in the Cancer Center there. And that was only a year ago that I left the Cancer Center.
So you've seen a lot of changes. What has perhaps concerned you most about what you're seeing in our healthcare system from your unique perspective?
I think the one thing is just we have always struggled with healthcare in the past. It is not meeting the needs, and as a community is growing. And 1993 was when the Whitby Hospital was originally announced to be closed. And to take and to look at for instance, if my child was to need stitches, I would take a look as to which emergency I would go to, just because of the waiting times. But we really need to be looking at how we can overall, as a region that is growing so quickly. I moved to the Cancer Center here back 15 years ago, because they opened the Cancer Center. They created regionalization of services and gave the supports. Before that, residents from Durham were traveling either to Kingston or downtown Toronto to have their cancer care. So the perspective of having the trauma care here, the neonatal, the cardiac care, it is one that it brings into a population that by 2041 is going to be over 1 million people. So why wouldn't we have the same opportunity for the same type of care that is in existence within the downtowns or within downtown Toronto or in Ottawa? Or why can't we as a community have that same care?
Yeah, how disappointed were you when there was no mention of the Whitby Hospital in the 2024 provincial budget? What was your reaction?
I had already been given indicators the week before that it wasn't going to be in there. Well, I know with the the policy for the planning grants. It can be applied at any point in time, that can be announced at any point in time. So it doesn't necessarily have to be tied specifically to a budget, but you would think that a planning grant would be tied to a budget, the budget process, and not separated out throughout the year. That it could be at any point in time. It's like, if we know it's going to end up happening within the year, why can't we just announce it at the same time we do the budget?
And of course, even the federal government with Ryan Turnbull, you know, they've announced funds, and as we spoke to Ryan Turnbull recently, and he says in his opinion, there's no reason why the provincial government shouldn't be announcing this now.
So
like, what's the wait?
So yeah, exactly. And what is the wait? But even why can't you communicate? Why can't it be communicated that, okay, in 2025, we are going to announce your planning grant? Like, let the indicators happen. Let the community know. And I know there's 100 planning grants required across this province. And I know even locally within our community, we have Ontario Shores that has a request for a planning grant for a program that they want to implement, which is an emergency mental health unit. Instead of going to the Emerge, they want to have the empath program present at their facility, and they're still waiting for the approval for their planning grant as well too. Like, the money, I know long term is a larger amount of money to build a hospital, but allow for the communities to plan and to work forward and to move forward. Allow for Lakeridge Health to move forward on the planning of this, because they're ultimately going to have to be the ones spearheading with the fundraising to be able to support as well too.
So how much is the communities will they have to raise?
So depending on the amount of what the total cost would be to build it, it's approximately 10% that we'll have to raise of the capital.
That's a lot of coin, and that's not done.
That's a lot.
You know,
it is
in a week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not done overnight. And like, the conversation is already starting. The conversation is already being had with potential donors, and there has been previous donors who have passed and have left money towards the healthcare facility within our community.
How concerned are you? I mean, money's tight wherever you turn these days. How concerned are you that this community, Durham Region, will be able to raise the money that it needs to?
I think it's going to be a longer time period for the raising of the funds. However, we just saw today that 21 million was finalized towards the Cancer Center program. The amount will be substantially more for a hospital, but then I think that just with whether we look at the municipal support, whether we look at across each one of our communities as to how we can implement maybe a levy onto each homeowner, that's a conversation to be had. We can look at the donations that we could get, where we see the last hospital that was built, it was in the name of the Portalucci's, and we also know, like, we've had conversations with different foundations that support hospitals to where they become the namesake for that hospital. So we're looking at the same as well too, and working collectively alongside to have those conversations and opening up doors for those conversations.
Okay, I'm going to hold you there. We are in conversation with Whitby Mayor Elizabeth Roy. Don't go away. Talk Politics returns after this.
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No. Could I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. Smoking weed affects reaction time and concentration. A message from Mad Canada.
Buckle up, we're cleared for takeoff.
Here we go, boys, here we go.
16 teams, one champion for the greatest trophy in sports.
You know why I'm here. A time for new heroes to be born.
This is a guy who wants to get to the Stanley Cup Finals.
This is what I'm here for.
Stanley Cup champions!
I'm here. I'm here for the Stanley Cup.
They've reached the seventh!
I'm here to win.
The Stanley Cup playoffs, here we go.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Van Bilson. My next guest is Matt Passafume, who together with his wife Stephanie own and operate Applewood Farm Winery, a very successful venture with a great history. We'll also find out the story behind the person right here on Rogers TV.
This is Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Talk Politics. Debra Hutchison here in conversation with Whitby Mayor Elizabeth Roy. We are talking specifically about Whitby's campaign to get a new hospital for Durham Region in Whitby, the site that you feel is the best site for it. I have to ask you, this campaign, while it has been met with great applause by the community, Ontario Premier Ford has not been so complimentary. In fact, at one point he said, "I'm not going to be bullied by that mayor," so you're that mayor, "and offering everything under the kitchen sink." Do you feel like you're being a bully?
Not at all. I'm advocating for our community. I'm doing my job as the mayor of this community, and the number one priority that our community members raised, not only in the last election of 2022, but also in the strategic plan that we have put together in 2023 was healthcare and a hospital. And if advocating and lobbying and getting it put forward that Whitby is a priority area, Durham is a priority area. We are the fastest growing community within Canada. That why wouldn't we be putting out there that we need a hospital? And it's unfortunate that the discussion and the dialogue has reverted to with the name calling, where we should actually be talking about what's important here. And what's important here is the healthcare for our community. We're going to be growing by 2031. Our expectation and our commitments to the province was 18,000 units, 18,000 homes within Whitby alone. Our population by 2041 is going to be over 1 million people here within Durham Region. Healthcare infrastructure is important. We should be doing that at the same time. We should be moving forward. This was identified in 2015. This isn't something that was just identified yesterday. This is identified in 2015. In 2022, we were approved as a site. We are 3 budgets now passed where we haven't heard anything. Is it wrong that I'm lobbying and asking for what's the status for us as a community?
Did that reaction surprise you from the Premier?
Absolutely. I was quite surprised when the tape of the press conference was shared with me. It is one that, a face-to-face is more appropriate rather than to be having the conversation through the press and not being able to get in front of the premiers. It's discouraging.
Have you reached out to the Premier's office or, the area MPPs? Have you had conversations with them?
Numerous times, and we have sent out, even just prior to the bullying comment, I had sent a text message to him because I did get his cell phone number asking for a meeting, and I was to get a phone call, and I haven't got the phone call yet. And as to the meeting with our local MPP, it's been continuous. And even to the extent where there was to be a meeting after this announcement or after that press conference had taken place, and it got canceled.
Really? So how concerned are you now that perhaps the powers that be will dig in their heels and have, got their noses out of joint, and it's going to backfire?
Well, I don't think this is going to backfire. I think ultimately what has to take place is that calmer heads have to prevail. The understanding of the need and the support for healthcare in our community has been stated by all of our MPPs and even by the Premier as of yesterday, is that healthcare is a priority for the provincial government. I agree it is. But healthcare in my community is also a priority for Whitby and for the region of Durham. So for me to be lobbying to the provincial government, no different than the provincial government lobbies and to the federal government for the funding, and because as we know, healthcare is paid for through the province. The federal government transfer funds to the province, and we are just asking for that support. If it is changed or there's a decision change, well, it's unfortunate for all of our community members. It's unfortunate for the region of Durham.
So what was he talking about, offering everything under the kitchen sink? Something to do with raffle prizes to residents who took part in the awareness campaign.
So this is a common practice, actually, and it's interesting that this was alluded to, but and you would know this as well too, but engagement into receiving feedback, whether it's the sports complex, whether it's the community strategic plan. We're seeing it presently right now where the region of Durham is offering prizes for participants in order to be involved in their strategic plan as well too. Pickering, they have prizes as well. This is a municipal engagement practice, and they're leveraging to reach out to more people by having the prizing. It's actually 4 prizes, and it's not everybody, not 4,000 people are receiving a gym membership. This is 4 prizes and 3 of them were in kind from our recreational facilities, and the 4th prize was an Apple Watch.
So a way of getting people engaged and getting them to log on and spend the time telling you what they think.
Yeah, and over the years, like the sports complex, which is now being built, we had over 3,000 participants take involvement in that. In the 6-month time period, as we did our community strategic plan, we had 3,000 participants with that. And in the 8-week time period, we had 4,000 residents participate within the hospital campaign. It's not a new strategy or a new way we didn't just start this, it's been in place for years.
So where are we at now then with the hospital campaign? What's the next step?
So the next step is we're going to continue with residents, and we're going to ask them to continue to submit their letters to the Premier. Share your stories. We are starting a heart campaign where we are going to be putting hearts around and within our municipal facilities that are encouraging residents to participate, that we need the hospital, and it will be showing up throughout our municipal facilities in the next week or so.
So when all is said and done, what do you want Whitby residents or Durham residents to know about this hospital campaign and your ultimate goal here?
So the ultimate goal now is we still don't have a decision for our hospital. We still don't have a decision of a planning grant for our hospital. Yes, the location which was decided by Lake Ridge Health is within the Whitby. We need the province now to commit to a planning grant to the hospital, to Lake Ridge Health, to be able to move this forward. So as residents, we're just encouraging you to reach out, one, to your local MPP, or also to the Premier, and to state your healthcare story or the need for support for healthcare for the future. And it's top priority for residents.
Okay. Before we move on to 1635 Dundas, anything else that has been left unsaid that you want to say on the Whitby Hospital?
Ultimately, this is a campaign that is about the need for our community and infrastructure supports for our community. And we need to continue this campaign forward until we have a decision.
Okay. Let's move on to 1635 Dundas. Before the hospital took up most of your time, this was another issue that was front and center. The former long-term care facility is now housing some of Durham's homeless, and there was concern when it was announced that it was going to open about the effect on the community. It has received its first residents. It's been rather quiet. Is that good news?
So there has been a few complaints, but we've been dealing with those immediately as they have presented, as the agreement has been laid out with the region of Durham and the town of Whitby. Our communication back and forth between the provider and also with the region has been quick and immediate to respond. But overall, there has been very few complaints. There is 45 residents residing in the shelter at this point in time. And the outreach workers are working with those who are in need. And we are now bringing in with the John Howard Society, the education is coming into place. Mental health supports is also coming into place in healthcare supports. And so they're now working through the transitional programming of how they can give the supports. There's many that are within the shelter that are actually working as well too. And well, the complaint may be that you see them within the bus shelter. Well, they're actually catching the bus to go to work in the morning. And when we were shown just prior to it opening, the transition of how they transformed this space, it actually looks like a college dorm. And it's such a nice space, like open and bright and welcoming. And it is one where we now can continue to move forward. I know that there's conversations about bringing a community garden in and working together with an organization called We Grow Food. And they are looking to come in to help to look at how they can do the community gardens. And we're also looking at the training of individuals for employment as well too. So there's a lot happening within those walls. And I myself have spoken to a number of businesses within the area. And there has been a couple of concerns, but you can't relate it to the fact that it could have been a resident in 1635. It could be individually outside that were the problems that we're having throughout a lot of our malls and our businesses around town.
We've only got about a minute left. I want to ask you, is it 45 individuals, or are there among those that 45, are they families?
There's no families. There's no families. There's 45 individuals, and there are some partners as well too. But overall, it's a varying age of who is within the facility.
What are the plans going forward? Is there plans to expand the amount of people that they will be caring for?
So in terms of the low barrier shelter, they cannot enter with our agreement. 45 is what the cap is at. They are looking at partnering with some of the other community partners such as Lake Ridge Health and looking at some medical programs in there. There's also been a reach out from a hospice for homeless to set up a little hospice within the facility. There still is a lot of work that needs to be done on the remainder floors. And until that work is done, there can't be anybody moving in. There is regional staff that is housed there now as well too. So there's from the 10 outreach workers to the social work staff, and you'll also see a presence of our paramedic team that will show up there, the PCOP team, because they will do wellness checks. And we'll also see where the Durham Regional Police and the medical team, the mental health team, they will also be present there at times as well.
Okay, we are out of time. Elizabeth Roy, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Anytime. Thank you.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
You know, there's a lot more to the Oshawa Public Libraries than the 500,000 books and materials on for loan. I'll show you. This is the makerspace. This is where we build and create using new technologies. Another new offering is lynda.com, helping you unleash your personal and professional potential.
Welcome to Online Marketing